Our group has chosen to present the philosopher Gregory of Nyssa, that is J.P., Hannah, and myself, Isaac Schilter. Gregory was born in 335 AD in Caesarea Cappadocia in Asia Minor, and died March 4, 394 AD. This area is now known as Turkey. He was a philosophical theologian and mystic of the 4th century. He was also a leader of the Orthodox Christian party. He was especially prominent in the discussion of the Trinity, and ensuring that all three parts of the Trinity were considered divine. He was very well known for his writings being able to balance Platonic and Christian traditions and thought, making them appealable to both types of thinking. As a child, he was the son of a distinguished family that allowed for him to receive an education. He was more greatly influenced, however, as he got older in his philosophical training by his brother Basil of Caesarea, who went on to be a saint, and his friend Gregory of Nyssa. In his personal life, there are different sources suggesting that he was married, as celibacy was not a law for priests. At this time, however, this topic of his marriage is still widely inconclusive. The influence of religion was heavily present and involved in his personal life. Two of his brothers went on to be bishops. He had a sister known for her great piety, that is recognized as a saint. In total, counting his parents, 5 of his 6 family members are recognized as saints by the Church today. He began his career as a teacher of rhetoric. In the 360s, however, he turned to religious studies. Some even argued that he turned to monastic life. He goes on to become a bishop of the small city of Nyssa. He was eventually accused of maladministration, however, as a result of the influence of the heretic Arius. Arius' thinking at this time was heavily strong, and it was the belief that Christ was not divine. Valens, the Roman emperor, was a proponent of this thinking and had Gregory banished. Upon Valens' death, however, Gregory was reinstated and welcomed back with open arms. He was well liked by his community, and despite all of his writings, made sure to not neglect his pastoral and community objectives.
In regards to philosophy, Gregory of Nyssa placed a very heavy emphasis on virtuous living. He believed that we were on a constant, eternal, quote-unquote, horse race in achieving perfect virtue. However, because God is himself perfect virtue, the perfect virtue that we are ultimately pursuing can never be achieved. He argues that Moses' life exemplifies the truth that the pursuit of virtue should be never-ending and was the perfect example of always achieving more perfect virtue, even when you cannot truly achieve it in this lifetime. He also placed great heavy importance on the qualities of humility, trusting in God, and servitude. Gregory even argues that servant is the best title one can receive, as evident through Moses' example of being the perfect servant. Gregory also presents an interesting argument in his ideas on the unknown side of God. For a big part of this argument, he uses the passages in Exodus where Moses is described as meeting with God, not being able to see his face. Gregory argues that it is fitting we never see the face of God, because if we were to face him, we would not be being led by him. In times when it seems as if God has his back turned on us, it is actually evident that we are being guided by him, because good cannot look good in the face. He further supports this argument by drawing on Moses being in the presence of God, but in darkness. Gregory states that this is representative that in times when we are unclear on God, have questions regarding who he is, or aware that there is an unknown aspect to God, it does not mean that he is not present or exists. Gregory also enjoyed interpreting Bible passages with allegorical interpretations. He ushered in the idea for looking for deeper meanings and metaphors in the Bible, allowing for a broader, more sincere understanding of Scripture. However, his main emphasis in his philosophy is on virtuous living and acknowledges that we must actively choose to make this commitment. Moses' life is the perfect example of this because he always chose to place God at the center of his life, which in turn helped him along his way to the unachievable perfect virtue.